Hello and welcome to the Management Channel. In this section under Team Dynamics, we're going to look at all of the requirements and headaches and pains and facets of leading a team project or a project team. So for success with a new project-oriented team, what do you need to do? Well, first you need to recognize the people who define and influence your work environment. You need to understand their unique roles, know how to work effectively with them to create a successful project. And when you contact people who will support the project, the 4 things you should do is, first, inform them that your project has been approved and when the project will start. Confirm that they're still able to help and support the project. Explain what you'll do to develop project team and then start the project work. And reconfirm you expect them to perform, schedule and deadlines expected, and amount of time you expect them to spend on the project. Make sure you define all that up front. So 4 things you need to make sure your team understands. Number 1, the goals. What the team must do and what members individually must do. What their role is, what's their specialty, position, authority, and their assignments. Processes, the techniques that members will use to perform their tasks. And the relationships, attitudes and behavior of members towards each other, and how to get along and resolve conflict. So setting your project in motion, what you need to do is review the approved project plan with all your members and bring any new members up to speed so that everybody is clear about the project. Develop team and individual goals. Clarify the expectations and the benefit to both the team and the organization. Specify what the team member roles are, both primary and any secondary roles you wish them to take. Define the team's operating processes and encourage member relationships and make sure you resolve conflicts. At a minimum, you should develop procedures for communication, project-related information in writing, and personal interactions. Decision-making, deciding alternative approaches and actions, guidelines for making choice, gaining consensus, and so forth. In other words, train your team in how to make decisions. Conflict resolution, your main job, resolving differences of opinion between members so that they are cohesive. So remember the operating process. There are 4 stages of team development, right? If you saw that lecture, it's forming, storming, norming, and performing. Be aware that sometimes you may have to go backwards and revisit a previous step. In aligning your key players, you need to establish some kind of structure. So what is a functional structure? A functional structure brings together people who perform similar tasks or who use the same kinds of skills and knowledge in a functional group. What are some of the advantages? Reservoirs of skills and knowledge in their area of expertise, well-established communication processes and decision-making procedures provide timely and consistent support for projects, and provide people with a focused and supportive job environment. However, just like everything else, there are disadvantages. Number 1, it hampers effective collaboration among different functional groups. The main interest is to perform tasks in their group specialty area rather than to achieve goals and results that may involve or affect other groups in the organization, and may have difficulty in getting buy-in and support for this project from other functional groups that must support or that might be affected. There's also a projectized structure. It's where groups together all personnel working on a particular project. Some of the advantages: all members of a project team report directly to the project manager. Members can more easily develop a shared sense of identity, resulting in a stronger commitment to one another and to the success overall of the team. Everyone on the team shares the processes for performing project work: communication, conflict resolution, and decision-making. Disadvantages of this particular structure are higher personnel costs, reduced technical interchange between projects, reduce career continuity opportunities and sense of job security. And then we have what's called the matrix structure. This combines elements of both the functional and the projectized structures to facilitate the responsive and effective participation of people from different parts throughout the organization where needed for their specialized expertise. The advantages of this structure is that teams can assemble rapidly. Teams' specialized expertise can be available for several different projects, and getting buy-in from team members' functional units is a lot easier than with just the functional or projectized structures. Some of the disadvantages, of course, are team members working on multiple projects respond to two or more managers. Team members may not be familiar with one another's styles and knowledge, and members may focus more on their individual assignments and less on the project and its goals. So getting the information you need to determine the skills and knowledge each activity requires. Determine who's the best person for that particular task. Decide what skills and knowledge each project team member should possess, and then create a skills matrix. What are the steps to preparing a skills matrix? Number one, you have to discuss with each team member what his or her skills are, what their knowledge is, and what their related interests to the project tasks are. What would they like to do? Determine each person's level of interest in working on the project tasks, and consult with team members' functional manager to determine their opinion of the member's skills, knowledge, and interest into this project. Then, you want to check to see whether any areas of your organization have already prepared a skills matrix. Maybe they already have one for the group that you would like to assemble. Incorporate all information you gather in a skills matrix and review with each team member to ensure the accuracy. Make sure the details you have are correct. There's also what's called a human resources matrix. It depicts people assigned to each project activity and the work effort each person will contribute to each assignment. The types of information you need here are their skills and knowledge, their position name or title, and, of course, the name of the person. Begin planning your workload by developing what? A human resources matrix, a person loading graph or chart. Well, what is a person loading chart? It's a bar graph that depicts the level of work effort you'll spend each day, week, or month on an activity. Working successfully in a matrix, the 5 things you can do to reinforce the team's identity are clarify the team vision and working relationships, define their team procedures, clarify each person's authority and responsibility, be aware of and attend to your team's functioning, reinforce the overall project goals and the dependence of team members on one another. Now, you want to look at heading off common problems. What 4 things can you do? Plan in sufficient detail. Plan ahead for the what-if problems. Identify and address conflicts promptly. Don't let them linger or go to the next meeting. Settle them right away so that hard feelings don't set in. Encourage open communication among your members, especially regarding any problems or frustrations a member might have. And encourage upper management to establish an oversight committee to monitor project performance and to address resource or other conflicts. You should have a project communications plan. Project Communications Management Plan is a document that specifies all the project communications generated throughout the project, who the target audience is, the informational content, and how frequent these will be sent out. They should include target audience, information needs, information sharing activities, what the content will be, and the frequency thereof, and what data collection needs to be done. So maintaining project control. There are 4 activities that are performed throughout the project. One is you want to reconfirm the plan. At the beginning of each performance period, reaffirm responsibilities and commitments. Assess performance. Dates milestones were reached, the dates they started and ended activities, the number of hours, the amount of non-personnel resources used, and the expenditures made for each activity. Then take corrective action. Take steps to bring performance back to the plan or change the plan to reflect some new expectations. And really important, keep your people informed. Share achievements, problems, and future plans with your project audience. Now you should have what we call a tracking system. The three areas of performance you need to track and monitor are schedule achievement, how well you're meeting the established dates of the project, personnel resource use, the levels of effort people are spending on assignments, and financial expenditures, funds that you're spending for project resources. And hopefully you'll use project management information systems. They contain three parts: inputs, data that describe selected aspects of the project's performance; processes, analysis of the data comparing actual performance to the planned performance; and then outputs, reports that present the results of the analysis. Monitoring the schedule performance. You want to define schedule data to collect the start and end date for each activity, and make sure you collect the dates when milestones are reached. Did they meet the plan? Analyze the schedule performance, the activity or milestone name. Who's responsible for ensuring that activity's completion? You want the dates activity should start and end, and of course include any relevant comments about the activity. Collecting schedule performance data. Is the activity on a critical path? Is the activity high risk? Did we encounter any problems with this activity? And are we approaching the activity's planned completion date? And how are we doing towards going to that end date? You want to choose a vehicle for a schedule tracking system. You can have a manual tracking system like day planners, calendars, handwritten project logs, or a simple Gantt chart. But it's best if you use some kind of computer-based tracking system where all members can supply input, like project management software, database software, spreadsheet, etc. Monitoring the work effect. You should be looking at the total hours budgeted versus the total hours spent, the hours per person budgeted versus the hours used by that person, and the difference between the hours budgeted versus the hours actually used for analysis and archive it. Accurate collection of word effort data should be time cards, written time logs, signature of person verifying time reported is accurate, and an approval signature of supervisor verifying the accuracy. Improving accuracy of work effort data. Encourage accuracy of those actual hours spent rather than just reporting 40 hours. Include the categories of direct, administrative, or research. Encourage each person to fill out their own timesheets, and then collect those timesheets weekly or on some other regular basis. And again, choose a vehicle for the work effort data. Manual tracking system could be a handwritten time log, but if you use a computer-based, you've got a time card, clock, computer insert system, a spreadsheet, something, again, that can be shared with the entire team. Monitoring the monetary expenditures. Make a rough estimate of items cost in a project budget. Submit a written approved request for item to the procurement department or purchasing. Purchasing a vendor and submits purchase order. Vendor agrees to provide the items requested. Items are received and accepted. Purchasing receives an invoice for the items, and then they submit payment for the item. So all this should be recorded. Next, analyze the projected budget versus the actual costs and note any difference. Are we plus or minus the proposed budget? And let's identify any cause of delay. Once you determine a problem exists, you first have to determine why. What caused the delay? Was there a variance or problem? The reasons might be people spent less time on an item that they agreed upon, or the activity actually requires more time than we estimated. The activity might require more steps than we identified. People working have less experience than anticipated. We thought they had more skills. People are doing more than required, delaying the project. And could there be weather conditions, labor strike, material shortage, etc.? Despite good planning, an activity may require more than you thought. A customer might make a change, or some kind of new technology evolves in the middle of your project. The change usually always comes at a cost, either with time or money, and sometimes both. You should have plans ahead of time on how to deal with these changes and how to respond. Again, what we call a contingency plan or a what-if plan. So when you have a change request, there are 3 things that are given as guidelines to help you smoothly incorporate into your project. Number one, don't use the possibility of changes as an excuse for not being thorough in your original planning. You should have planned ahead for the what if. My advice is estimate more on time, estimate more on financial, and that way if you come in under budget or under the time, you look like a hero. But if you have to go back and ask for more, you're kind of looked at differently. So remember that any change always has a cost, and determine the cost to you so that you can plan ahead and minimize wherever possible. Assess the effect of change on all aspects of your project. A simple change could affect multiple items in various ways. Now we have what's called in a project scope creep. What is that? It's the gradual expansion of project work without formal consideration and acceptance of these changes or the associated costs and effects or efforts needed. What can cause it? Well, a lack of clarity and detail in the original description of the project scope, objectives, and work. The willingness to modify a project without formal review and approval. And it could be the willingness to let people who don't do the work associated with the changes decide whether to make the changes. And it could be the feeling that you should never say no to a client, no matter what. But in some cases, you're going to learn you have to. And it could be personal pride that encourages you to believe that you can do anything, or more than you're able to. So what can you do to help control scope creep? Number one, include detailed descriptions of all objectives in the plan. Always assess the effect of requested changes on project products, their schedules, and the resources. Share your true feelings about whether you can implement these requested changes within the time frame that they're asking. And develop open and honest relationships with your clients so they're going to be more receptive when you raise issues associated with the change requests they give you. Resolving potential resource overloads. You will be constantly planning, replanning, shifting resources, and changing allocations. Unfortunately, that's common in project management. So allocate your time unevenly over the duration of one or more activities. Why? Instead of spending the same number of hours on an activity each week, plan to spend more hours some weeks than others. It depends on the importance of each task. You have to balance it out. Take advantage of any slack time that may exist in your assigned activities to get on to another task. Slack time, again, is the maximum time that you can delay an activity without delaying the earliest date by which you can finish the complete project. And in the end, you should have post-project evaluation. What 4 areas should be considered? Number 1, review the experience you've gained from the project. Recognize people for their achievements. Give them praise and rewards. Plan to ensure good practices are repeated on your future projects. And plan to hand off any problems you encounter on future projects. Again, planning, planning, planning. Key to any project. This is going to wrap it up on our section of team dynamics. I hope you'll continue learning more about teamwork dynamics. Teamwork is the wave of the future in business, so learn as much as you can. Thank you and have a wonderful day.